we've had policies that have deliberately, intentionally excluded black beneficiaries, African Americans, and the history of the country has not been colorblind. I often give a talk that is a variation on the theme that there is no such thing as colorblind or race-neutral public policy. Public policy is not either colorblind or race-neutral. The history of the country tells us this. George mentioned, for example, the New Deal and the introduction, Social Security, which excluded. And here's the thing to bear in mind. People who point to the disparity in wealth and income between blacks and whites in this country today also point out that it is possible to have public policies that are put into place to remedy that history. But there are some people who say, well, you cannot possibly adopt public policies that are color or race sensitive and that are intended or designed to benefit particular groups of people on the basis of race or ethnicity. That would be a violation of the Equal Protection Clause. Well, this may well be so, but consider how we have done this in the past. For example, the very Social Security and New Deal protections that George mentioned earlier. The law simply excluded people who were domestics and people who were agricultural workers. Now, it just so happened that the majority of domestics and agricultural workers in the country were black. So, no, they were non-white. So nobody said, well, we're going to have this Social Security system and that is going to help to protect white people when they get old, but we're not going to extend this benefit to black people. They simply said, this is a benefit that we are constructing here as a form of social insurance. The following groups the following occupations are not going to be covered: domestic workers and farm workers. Nobody said black people, but everybody understood that as a practical matter, because the overwhelming majority of people in those occupations were non-white, that these are the people who were being cut out from this form of social insurance. Similarly, we passed what on its face would have been a race-neutral GI Bill. You went to war, World War II. You came back from World War II we are a grateful nation, and we will provide you with certain benefits because you risked your life. Many of your colleagues did not return, but for you who have come back, as a grateful nation, we will repay you by opening up the doors of opportunity for you, the doors of opportunity to education and to home ownership. So, as a returning veteran, you are entitled to have us. We will pay for you to go to university. This is how Professor Howard Zinn went to Columbia University. This is how he went to college. As he has explained, he was a 27-year-old college freshman. He had returned as having served as a bombardier in World War II and went to college, went to university on the GI Bill of Rights. So we say, if you have served your country, we will pay for you to go to college, and we'll do something else. If you want to buy a home, we will subsidize the cost of that home purchase by underwriting the cost of your mortgage for you. So that when you go to the bank and you want to buy a home that is going to cost whatever it is, $90,000 or whatever homes cost in those days, you don't have $90,000, but the government will stand behind you. We will back your application because you are a GI. Not because you have a good credit rating, because you have no money, you have no credit rating, you don't have anything. But because you served, we will back you up on this, and we will guarantee this loan with the bank. However, so of course, this was a generation coming back from World War II. This was when the American middle class exploded, because of course millions of people were now able to go to college and to university. Some going all the way up to get terminal degrees. Were able to purchase homes and so on, and in purchasing homes were able to get to build equity in those homes. So the equity in those homes became a form of wealth that they were able to pass on to their children, hence the intergenerational transfer of wealth. And studies have shown that up to as much as 70 or 80% of all wealth in this country is the result. We're not talking about of all wealth is passed on, is the result of intergenerational transfer. However, we're talking here about the late 1940s and the 1950s, when most colleges and universities in the United States were officially segregated and would not accept black college students, black entrance into the university. So even though you had black soldiers who were also entitled to this benefit, they were not able to receive the benefit because there were not enough historically black colleges and universities to give to seat all of the black returning soldiers who wanted to pursue a higher education. And white universities, as a matter of were legally allowed to exclude blacks from entering into those into their halls and into their classrooms. So you had large numbers of blacks who were unable to take advantage of what on its face was supposed to be a race-neutral benefit. Similarly, with the housing, the government says, we will back you in your application for a mortgage. The thing is, though, that the banks were redlining entire communities. So, and this was a time when, as you know, the country was officially segregated. We're talking about Jim Crow America. This was the era of American apartheid. So, not only were the banks not lending any money to black people to purchase homes in places other than essentially in black ghettos, not only were blacks unable to purchase homes in white communities because you had things like you had all kinds of restrictive covenants and all kinds of other practices that were used to exclude blacks from these benefits. So I mention these things to say that in the history of the country, we have found ways of creating social and public policy that has excluded targeted and particular constituencies as a matter of intention, and there is no reason why the same policy, why this same idea cannot be now applied constructively in order to remedy a history of